If your standards are way too high compared to where you are, it's a recipe for a lot of pain for a lot of time. But if they're just a little bit higher, if you raise your standards and then you raise your results, and you raise your standards and you raise your results, that's a really good place to be. Don't create standards that create feedback you can't handle yet.
If you have level 2 belief and set a level 10 goal, you're going to actually destroy your self-belief. Because you're going to say, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and then you're not going to do it, and that's going to actually destroy your self-belief. It's going to dwindle and decay your self-belief. Whereas if you have level 2 self-belief and you set a level 2 goal, you'll actually do it.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1613. Do you reset your goals or reset your damn self? Today, for episode number 1614, can you be motivated without this? I saw a clip, I believe, oh my goodness, I can never remember. I never cite things because I can never really remember them because I move on so quickly from one thing to another thing. But I saw something somewhere on the interwebs, and they were talking about one of the reasons fitness can be so hard. One of the reasons getting results in fitness can be so hard, one of the reasons showing up to the gym or showing up to your own version of exercise, maybe walking, yoga, hot yoga, whatever it is. One of the reasons all that is so hard is because if you don't have a specific goal, there is no motivation. There's no way to be motivated if you don't have a goal. Go ahead.
No, it's our first. Is this your first meeting today?
Yeah, this is my first meeting of the day. Yeah.
Same. We got this.
Yeah, of course. So I wanted to do an episode on that because I think a lot of us assume, okay, when I'm motivated, I'll start. But how can you really can't connect with a goal until you start doing something towards the goal. And here's the other thing, and this has been a huge thing we've been talking about for a while now. When you set a goal, an appropriate goal, the right size, the right distance, it feels like the right distance, it feels like the right probability you'll actually be able to accomplish it, that is more than likely going to motivate you anyway. If you set a small goal, it's too small, might not motivate you. If you set a goal that's too large, it might not motivate you. It might end up one of two things. One, it's not even worth me doing this because even if I get the result I want, nothing's going to change. Or there's no point in me even doing this because there's no way I ever accomplish that. I think momentum and motivation are more connected than we give credit for. When you set a goal, let's say for you out there, your goal is a specific goal. There's a big difference between setting a goal of saving more money and setting a goal of having $5,000 in your bank 6 months from today so you can do blank. If you just want to save money, when you're driving by the drive-thru or you're at Target or you're wherever you are on Amazon, there's not as much motivation for you not to buy something you don't need. Mm-hmm. It's just not specific enough. The goal isn't specific enough to keep you on track. But if you have a number in your mind, I want $6,000 6 months from today so my family and I can go on vacation. That's a really good motivator because there's a lot of necessity there. And you can quite literally think, okay, I have $3,000 in the bank. Do I really need to spend $40 in the drive-thru right now? And that's $40 that could go towards this fund. So, yeah, that's the episode that I wanted to do today because I think we fall victim to this. I will be motivated when I start something. And I think you have to have a goal before you're going to have motivation. Unfortunately, I think it's just set up that way.
There's so many things that need to be in place to actually win. I've started to understand why a lot of people struggle with motivation because motivation is a byproduct. It's not a... So, for example, Kevin and I, a lot of people would consider us very motivated. When in reality, it's we don't wake up super motivated. It's more like the train tracks that we must stay on to achieve our goals keep us on the rails. The things that need to be in place to actually be motivated. So for example, you go online and you say, oh, that person's so ignited, that person's so motivated, that person's so on point, they're so dialed in. That person has certain things set up that maybe you don't. The first one is self-belief. Underneath every goal is self-belief. If you don't have self-belief, you're not going to set a goal. And even if you do, it'll be a goal that doesn't really pull you or push you or motivate you because you don't really think it's going to happen anyway. So number one is self-belief. And if you build someone's self-belief, and this is the irony, unfortunately, self-belief doesn't get built unless you set a goal and then achieve it. We have this formula for self-belief in group coaching that we teach where we talk about you have to state, prove, self-assign. So you have to state, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. Then you have to prove to yourself that you can do that. And then you have to self-assign, I did that. I said I was going to do it and I did it. And this is usually an unconscious process. Early on in Kevin and I's learning how to communicate effectively, we realized that there's 2 types of ways to communicate. He communicates more inform and lead. I communicate more state and prove. In other words, I say a bold statement like what I did right there. I said, so many things need to be in place prior to being motivated. That's state. Now I'm going to prove that to everybody. And that's actually the worst way to communicate, by the way. Kevin usually starts with a story, which is inform about something, and then bring the lesson later. But one of the reasons why I think I've built so much self-belief is because I state and prove with myself. I'm constantly setting and stating things in my own mind and then proving I can do it. Constantly. And so, but here's the problem. And this is what we do in group coaching. If you have level 2 belief and set a level 10 goal, you're going to actually destroy your self-belief. Because you're going to say, oh, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and then you're not going to do it, and that's going to actually destroy your self-belief. It's going to dwindle and decay your self-belief. Whereas if you have level 2 self-belief and you set a level 2 goal, you'll actually do it.
Yeah.
And when you do it, you'll self-assign it. And when you self-assign it, you're going to go to level 3, self-belief. And then you'll set a level 3 goal, and then you'll do it, you'll achieve it, and then you'll self-assign it, and then you'll go to level 4, self-belief. This is my thesis. If you have high self-belief, you will not be okay with not being motivated. That is my new thesis. There's a client right now that is going through a really tough time, and she had huge goals for many, many, many years that she was aiming for, shooting for, climbing for. And she's come to learn about herself and grow about herself and realize that, you know what, those goals aren't as aligned as I once thought. And we've all been through that process. You know, I was a fitness coach at one point, and then eventually it was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sink 5 hours a day into this, especially when I'm more passionate about business, leadership, communication. So now you can't go all the way back, though. You can't go from I had level 10 goals and I was level 10 motivated all the way back to, I think I'm just going to hang out. She has too much self-belief now. She knows that she's capable of more and she can't just sit there. And so this is the thing that I really wanted to share with everybody. And I hope that everyone knows that I want to help you flourish as much as humanly possible. So please don't take this the wrong way. If I was coaching you, listener, proverbial listener out there, I would say if you really want to achieve something or be motivated, you actually have to dislike your current circumstance. I'll give you a perfect example. So last night, I had this moment with myself where I looked down and I was not thrilled about my body fat right now. Now, am I fat or anything like that? No. And again, here's my point though. I had a real moment with myself. I was like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You're coming 2 years of consistent exercise and that's what you've got for me? That's my honest dialogue. Now, some would say, oh, well, don't shame yourself and all that stuff. I'm with you. I'm not shaming myself. But I did have that honest moment of, I'm not okay with this. Here's the truth. This is the thing no one tells you. If I'm okay with it, it won't change. It won't change until I'm not okay with it. And that puts us all in this weird spot. Well, do you spend your whole life not okay with yourself? And that can get very toxic if you're never okay with self. But you know what else is toxic? Being okay with any standard, anytime, anything, no big deal, let it ride, right? I had a client, and this will be the last piece. I had a client who I genuinely confronted, and I said, brother, you're trying to consistently exercise. I appreciate it. You admire what I'm doing. You want to exercise every day like me. You want to get fit. You want to get ripped. How do I get a six pack, right? You ever had someone ask you that? Mm-hmm. You don't, trust me. And if you do,
nobody's asked me that. Nobody's asked me that recently. I'm not sure why. I don't know. Sure. I haven't got asked that question in a minute.
That's when you know you're winning in fitness, right? But people will ask literally, how do I get a six pack? And it's a genuine question. I appreciate it. You do. If I could explain how hard it is to get a six pack to everybody, it's like it will take you 3 or 4 years from where you are right now, most likely, of like pretty consistent effort. Even and myself,
just be hungry.
You're
be
forever.
Hungry a lot. Yeah.
You can be satiated or have a six pack, never both, right? So anyways, I'm being playful with this, but this client of mine, I had to really confront him, and I said, all right, I'm trying to help you flourish. You've actually told me I'm too soft on you, so here we go. He did. He said, dude, you're too soft. Tell me what's up. I'm paying you as a coach. I said, okay, cool. Awesome. I said, how much does it bother you how out of shape you are? And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, from my perspective, it doesn't seem to bother you that much. And he said, yeah, no. I mean, I said, okay, imagine you're out and around other people. It's summer. You're at a barbecue or whatever. You're with your kids. Like, how much does it bother you? How bad you look? He said, honestly, not really. I said, that's how I know you're not going to do it. It's okay. I said, insert name. I'll keep it anonymous. But I said, I'm so unhappy with the way I look right now. And I don't mean that from like a shaming way. I'm proud of myself on one side. It's a duality. I'm proud of myself. I've done a good job. Awesome. But if I'm sitting at a barbecue, if you and I are by a lake, Kev, and we're in our bathing suits, how unhappy are you going to be? Be honest with me, right?
8 out of 10.
Same. Okay, that is your level of motivation. That is my thesis. And I know it's not fluffy, and I know it doesn't feel good, but the truth of the matter is, until you have that honest moment with yourself and you go, you know what? You are living outside of alignment with your standards. You will not be motivated. Now, the dangerous part of that is if you have low self-belief, you don't think you can change it, and you're dissatisfied. That's called being dangerously stuck, and that will crush your self-esteem and your self-worth, and that's actually detrimental and destructive. So I don't want anyone to get stuck in shame or stuck in that pit. But what I do want you to do is be honest with yourself. Okay, what is my level of self-belief? 0 to 10. Okay, what is the standard that I've set in fitness or in health or in my relationship or in my career, whatever it is? And is there a misalignment? Meaning, if you have higher self-belief than you are actually demonstrating, it's going to cause inner turmoil, and inner turmoil is how we change. That's how we change as human beings. That's why when people get into NLU and they start building self-belief and self-worth, all of a sudden their old friends that they realize are toxic now aren't okay anymore. They raised their standards. And when you raise your standards, you also raise the dissatisfaction level. And when you raise the dissatisfaction level, that's where real motivation comes from. And people don't talk about this because it's not fun. I'm being dissatisfied with my current physique. I say this because I want to be vulnerable and honest with everybody. I had a moment with myself last night that was very painful. It was like, come on, man. But guess what? I'm going to crush it in the gym tonight. And I know that that's where real motivation comes from. But, and this is the last thing, if I had low self-belief and didn't believe I could change it, that could be a very dark place.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there. The other thing, too, is and I'll speak for myself. This is for me. I have financial goals for the year. I don't have fitness goals for the year, really. My fitness goals, if you said you can either make money in the business or go to the gym, I'm more motivated to make money in the business than I am to go to the gym, for sure. So I'm going to do that 9 times out of 10. And that's the reason.
Guess what's going to improve and what's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, you'll probably be happy in finance and unhappy in fitness.
Well, I'm hoping it doesn't go the full year. I'm hoping things will switch at some point. But to your point, I'm dissatisfied, but I'm not dissatisfied enough. It's winter in New England. It's snowing right now. I'm not going to be anywhere without my shirt anytime in the near future. I'm just not motivated enough to do it. And I don't have super specific goals right now. I did, and then going back to our previous episode, I just kind of reset them. Mm-hmm. I said, this is a very fine line, and also maybe a potential trigger warning. When I get overwhelmed, I want to eat. I don't want to have any limitations on, well, yeah, Kev, you can't have that because that has too many calories, or you can't have that because it's not salad. I honestly don't care. I just don't care enough right now. That is my honest truth. If I want to get Taco Bell because I'm overwhelmed and that helps my short-term mental health, I'd rather do that than say, oh, I feel really good because I can see my abs, but I am just miserable. I don't want to do that right now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that. It is a choice. But it would also be very, very negative for me to then say, well, I'm not happy with where I am physically. That's my own choice. I'm the one who is getting myself here. I'm the one who's going to have to figure it out when I'm ready. I think that's a very important piece of this. The other thing I wanted to say is when you get progress in something and then your standards change, that can be a very weird time, because when your standards change in one thing, sometimes it's harder to change your standards in other things. So maybe let's just say your fitness, because we're talking a lot about fitness, maybe your fitness standard changes. Then it requires more prioritization of that thing, which then makes it harder to do the other things, and you have to reprioritize those things. Yep. Then when those standards raise, this is why it's really hard to have high standards in health, wealth, and love, because they all require so much focus. So much. So, with that being said, make sure you're balancing out the grace with the feedback you're giving yourself. Because if you're growing, if you're making the most money you've ever had, and you're in the best shape you've ever been, and your relationship is suffering a bit, it's understandable. Yeah. If any segment of those three, any pairing of those three, if you're doing two
that at
really
all
well,
times one of them's being
100%,
pretty much at all times.
Yeah, 100%. Now, it might not always be totally recognizable. Right. It might,
especially not at first.
Yeah. But if you
have that moment I had last night of,
Yeah. And same. I had that. I put a shirt on the other day, and I said, "This thing's a little bit."
Did you?
A little bit tight.
Yeah.
Shirt's a little bit tight.
Yep.
And then I said,
"It's brutal, isn't it?"
That kind of sucks. But
and it kind of makes sense.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah. It kind of makes sense. But I don't have any goals. I don't have any fitness goals right now.
Yeah, tight around the stomach area.
A little tight around the stomach. Around the stomach.
Lower stomach. Slightly.
But I don't have any fitness goals right now. I have financial goals. I have relationship goals with Taryn. I don't really have fitness goals. And here's the thing too. I don't know. I might not have set goals because I don't want to do I'm not willing to do what it'll take to get there, because I think it'll take away from other things.
It definitely will.
Alan and I have had this conversation. I said, I think I could work out every day if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I don't want to sign up for that because I think it'll be detrimental. I really do. I don't think it would be good for the business. I don't think it would be, because when we did the 10-pound and 10-week challenge, I was going to the gym in the middle of the day.
You had to. Yeah.
Because I had to. And I don't necessarily want that level of pressure right now. There's enough pressure. So hopefully something from that will land for you.
Someone with a quote-unquote super growth mindset who has very low pragmatism would consider these all limiting beliefs.
What is
someone who has
pragmatism?
A fixed mind?
What is pragmatism?
Yeah. It means practicality. Okay. Same idea. But yeah, so anyone who, I say so a lot when I don't know what I'm going to say. Just realize that. And I do want to make this clear. Life is the constant expansion and contraction of standards and goals. You're not going to... There are times in my life where I was 10 out of 10 fitness, but my relationship was taking a hit. There were times when I was, 10 out of 10 relationship, but the business was suffering.
Yeah.
I remember one time I canceled 4 paid coaching sessions to go on a date day with Emilia. It was one of the best days we've ever had. But I remember being like, that's a $600 hit. That was a big mistake. And I just want to make it clear. Now here's the thing. Was that a mistake for my relationship? Definitely not.
Right.
That was a core memory. Going to the Biltmore, and I recommend it for anyone who's ever, you can look it up, the Biltmore. It was beautiful. And it's a bucket list item for Emilia. And as soon as I found that out, I said, okay, we're here. She found out it was only a half hour away. And I had to cancel. And I told my clients, I said, listen, I never do this. I'm so sorry. I got to do this. It's bucket list. But I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that told her, I literally said, that was a big hit. That was a big hit. That's a lot of momentum. That's a lot of business. That's a lot of impact. That my clients, all of that. So you can't win in 10 out of 10 in everything. You can't. But you also can't neglect everything. You don't want to get wealthy and then realize that you are too unhealthy to enjoy it. I told Emilia this. I said, I do not want to end up at the top of this mountain not in love. I don't want to climb a mountain with you and then be not in love at the top. I want to be in love along the way. And this episode's about motivation. It's almost like everything is two sides of every coin. On one side, if you're not motivated in something, you haven't tapped into what you really want, or maybe you have low standards, or maybe you've just been ignoring it or neglecting it like I have with certain things. Okay? Because I've been super 10 out of 10 with exercise, but my diet, I'm with Kev, I haven't been caring at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just been like, whatever. I exercise every day. Let me eat what I want. And it's awesome. That's the truth. You want to know why it's so hard to stay in shape? Eating is awesome. It's so good, Kev. It's so good. Not having to dial in a calorie. Emilia's tracking. She's doing the app and she's tracking macros, and I'm actually helping her with that, which is really cute. But I'm like, I don't care at all.
Yeah, same.
Let's roll, Now, I fast every day, blah, blah, blah. But here's my point. I just want to make this very clear. Think about the intensity of my voice. This is a hardcore episode, and that's good. It's about motivation. I don't want anyone to not know the truth. If Kevin and I appear motivated to you, or anyone online who appears motivated, I promise you, behind the scenes, they are more dissatisfied than they're portraying. Okay? There's this thing where people do this, and we do this too. You need to show up front-facing in abundant energy. But the moment these cameras and mics go off, we're back into grind time. We're back into necessity. We're back into a little bit of scarcity. We're back into, hey, you know what, Alan? You may have exercised 713 days in a row, but you haven't dialed in your diet in years to the point where you used to when you were a fitness model. And you will never get back to that level when you were on stage if you do not do something about this. And that is the honest conversation that you have to have with yourself. So on one side, I want you to give yourself grace. I want you to give yourself compassion. I want you to give yourself love. I want you to love and accept who you are. On the other side, you have to balance that out with, wow, I am seriously not living up to my own potential. And I'm going to do something about that. And if I don't feel the pain of not living up to my own potential, I'm not going to be fulfilled. I do believe we are not fulfilled because we know we're capable of more. Deep down inside you, you know you can do more. And I'm just not satisfied with that. And so I'm going to make some changes, and that's life. So if you want to know what motivation is being dissatisfied the right amount.
I think it's fair. Your standards should... let me see. If your standards are way too high compared to where you are, it's a recipe for a lot of pain for a lot of time. But if they're just a little bit higher, if you raise your standards and then you raise your results, and you raise your standards and you raise your results, that's a really good place to be. Don't create standards that create feedback you can't handle yet.
Yeah.
I think that's
Well
a
said.
really good way to put it. That's why
Can you
we're
give
very...
an example of that before we go? Have you seen someone do that?
It would probably just be... It would probably be in fitness. I think that's probably the best one because that's one of the hardest pieces of feedback to get. So anything in fitness where, I don't know, maybe you say, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to run a half marathon in 30 days or something. And then
Too much.
Yeah, you're 15 days in talking to your coach and they're like, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. Like, you're not following the program, you're not doing your exercises, you're not running, you're not doing your mobility, your nutrition isn't where it needs to be. And imagine if that's the first time you've ever gotten that level of feedback. That's going to suck.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard. It could be destructive.
Yes, it could be destructive.
There's constructive motivation and constructive standards and constructive, like for me, and I want to make this clear, how hard I was on myself even in this episode in fitness. Keep in mind, I was a fitness model, fitness coach, fitness competitor. I'm not asking everyone to be that hard on themselves.
Right.
Even with that client, I was basically saying, like, you don't really care as much as me, and that's fine. So stop trying to, it's almost like you want to be as motivated as me, but you aren't as dissatisfied.
Right.
You know, and he's like, yeah, no, I don't really care. And then we talked about finance, and he's like, oh my, and you could see it just come out of him, like, dude, I was like, there you go. Focus on that. That's okay. You don't have to be some fitness model. What are you going to, you don't care. He's in decent shape. I just want him to be honest with himself. And so hopefully all the listeners, just be honest with yourself. If you're not motivated, it's one of two things. Number one, maybe you're actually okay with where you're at. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. As a matter of fact, I would love that. I'm not, but I would love that. I've been there before. I've been in fitness at times where it's like, yeah, oh
Definitely.
yeah, real good. Yeah. And then it goes quick because then you start eating. But that's my point, is one of two things. You either are satisfied because you're like, yeah, I'm hitting my own standards. Great. Awesome. Or you're dissatisfied because you're lying to yourself, pretending that you're hitting your standards, when in reality, deep down, you do know you're capable of more. And I want to pour into that if that's the case, because I think that's how we all improve. I think that's how the world becomes better. I think that's leadership, because, maybe you have children, or maybe you have friends that need your inspiration, your motivation. They need you to ignite and do that thing. And so very last thing, Kev, I have a client who is getting her PhD. And I said, to be completely transparent, if you shoot for a 4.0 like you did with your master's, I think that's going to be destructive for your mental health. I want you to climb this mountain, but please don't try to climb it perfectly. And so I said, what are you going for? She said 3.0. I said, you know what's awesome about that? You'll probably end up with a 3.5. But if you shoot for 4.0 again, it's going to destroy your mental health. I know it is. I've witnessed it. So climb the mountain. I'm with you. Let's do this. But please don't try to climb it perfectly, because if you do, it's just going to be destructive.
A little motivation on a Friday.
Need it. Oh, yeah, Friday. Got it.
Alan just had a moment where he's like, it's not Friday today. I know. Next Level Nation, if you are local to the Massachusetts area, March 23rd, 2024, Groton, Mass. at the Groton Inn, we are having our Next Level Live 2024. Alan, myself, Amy will be there. Several members of the team will be there. Amy's going to be the MC. She did it so beautifully at our previous Next Level Live.
Crushed it.
If you come in person, you will get a free Next Level Dreamliner as well as a catered lunch. If you watch virtually, you will get a virtual experience. Unfortunately, we can't give you a meal. The logistics of that would be damn near impossible. Maybe we'll send you a bagged lunch. Maybe one day we'll do it
on the screen.
Yeah, imagine this. It's good. It's nice. We're also going to have the virtual is going to be great because you're going to be able to break into groups. So in person, we're going to have 3 different groups. Virtual, you're also going to be broken into 3 different breakout rooms. So it's not just sit there and take in content for however many hours. We have breakout sessions in between each session. So it's hands-on, and you'll leave with something more than you came with for sure.
And there's going to be 6 assistant coaches. So Kevin, myself, and Amy Lenius, and then Riley, Lizzie, and Jerry Ann will all be assistant coaches facilitating the breakout groups.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be a party. Link will be in the show notes. We would love to see you there. If you're in person, or if you're local and you want to come in person, it's awesome. We would love to see you. We love meeting the community. You'll meet other members of the community. If you're virtual, this is a great opportunity to take a deeper dive into what NLU does. It's going to be similar to podcast episodes, but it'll definitely be deeper in terms of the content.
At very least, please check out the landing page. The venue is gorgeous. The link will be in the show notes.
Tomorrow, for episode number 1615, are you pushing yourself too much? It's not what you think it is. We're not talking about, most likely, we're not talking about what you think we're talking about. It's going to be a little bit different than maybe you expect. So that is tomorrow's episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Stay motivated. Next Level Nation.